Have you ever stopped to consider that the very words you use day in and day out might be doing more than just describing your life, that they could actually be constructing it? It's a thought that can really make you pause.
It does, yeah. It sort of flips the script on how we usually think about language, you know?
Right.
Instead of it being just a passive reflection of reality, it becomes this active force in shaping it.
And that's precisely what we're diving into today. We're going to explore the potential power of something called affirmations, not just as abstract ideas, but, well, through the lens of someone who decided to live and breathe them for 30 solid days.
Ah, okay. Like a personal experiment.
Exactly. Think of this as a behind-the-scenes look at a personal deep dive into the spoken word.
A 30-day immersion that gives a really tangible framework, doesn't it? To actually see if anything shifts. It moves beyond just talking about it.
Right. And what sparked this whole thing was this really captivating idea. Someone whispering a few more, carefully chosen words each morning and seeing a big transformation in their life in just a month.
Wow.
It raises this fundamental question. Does language merely depict our reality, or could it be the very blueprint for creating it? Pretty profound, right?
Absolutely. It really challenges the conventional wisdom that language is mainly just for conveying information. This suggests something much more dynamic, generative even.
Now, for you listening, what's the compelling draw here? Imagine that constant chatter in your mind, that inner critic that can be so relentless.
Oh, yeah. We all know that voice.
What if you could learn to shift that internal monologue from doubt and negativity to, well, unwavering support and encouragement?
That's the dream for a lot of people, isn't it? Quieting that negative self-talk, that internal battle can be just exhausting.
Totally. So the potential, we're talking about turning your mind from an adversary into your ultimate ally.
And the prospect of harnessing your own voice to cultivate something more positive inside, it's incredibly appealing.
And what's fascinating is that while, there's a nod to the long history of affirmations, this isn't about some airy-fairy concept.
Right. It's not just wishful thinking.
There's a real sense that science and psychology might actually offer some insights into why this practice could have tangible effects.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the details. What was the starting point, the situation that prompted this 30-day commitment?
Well, the source describes someone grappling with this pervasive feeling of inadequacy, that gnawing sense of not enough.
Relatable.
Yeah, and coupled with the pressures of modern life, stress and anxiety were significant factors. It paints a very recognizable picture for many of us, I think.
Exactly. This individual described feeling like their world was just kind of gray, constantly battling that critical inner voice, right from the moment they woke up.
Ugh, tough way to start the day.
For sure. And it was during this time that they came across an old book, almost serendipitously, titled The Power of the Spoken Word. You get the sense it was a real moment of resonance.
Huh. Those moments of unexpected discovery. They can often be catalysts, can't they? And the title itself, it flags the central theme right there. The force within our words.
And one particular quote from this book really seemed to hit home. Words are seeds. Sow fear, and you will harvest storms. Sow faith, and you will walk on water. That's incredibly vivid imagery.
It is. It's a powerful analogy directly linking our inner talk to our outer experiences. The idea that our words have this, generative capacity, creating either negativity or possibility, is quite striking.
It clearly had a big impact. This person made a firm decision, 30 days of what they called radical affirmations. And crucially, they decided to approach it with complete openness, setting aside skepticism, no excuses.
That level of commitment, that suspension of disbelief, that feels critical here, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
Entering into it, willing to just see what happens, even for a limited time, probably created the space for new things to emerge. Resisting that immediate urge to dismiss it, that can be really powerful.
So as we keep mentioning these affirmations, what exactly are they? Because it's more than just randomly thinking positive thoughts, right?
That's a key distinction, yeah. The source material describes them not just as positive statements, but as neuroplastic tools. Now that's a fascinating way to frame it.
Ooh, neuroplastic tools. Okay, let's break that down. What does that actually mean? For our brains, how might these affirmations work?
Well, think of neuroplasticity as your brain's amazing ability to reorganize itself, right? By forming new neural connections. It's not fixed.
Okay.
So the idea here is that by repeatedly using positive affirmations, like say, I am unstoppable, you're essentially creating and strengthening the neural pathways linked to that belief.
Ah, like carving out a new path.
Exactly. And your brain apparently starts to actively look for evidence to support that statement. It wants to make that belief stronger. You're kind of laying down new tracks in your mind.
So it's like consciously giving your brain a new set of instructions, and through repetition, you're making those instructions the default setting.
That's a great way to put it. You're actively training your brain to adopt a new, more empowering perspective. And there's a psychological angle, too.
Right, you mentioned Carol Roof's research.
Yeah, the piece touches on that. Her research suggests positive language can have a real physiological impact, potentially lowering stress hormones like cortisol and activating the brain's reward centers.
Wow.
So that adds another layer potentially to why this might actually work.
That's really compelling a potential biological basis for positive self-talk. Now, this 30-day experiment wasn't just like casually tossing positive phrases around. There were specific guidelines. What were the crucial elements?
3 key rules were emphasized. First was precision, using specific affirmations phrased in the present tense.
Ah, okay. Not future tense.
Right. So instead of a vague future wish like, I will be happy someday, the affirmation would be immediate and certain, like, joy flows in me now. The thinking is that the present tense is more effective for reprogramming the subconscious. It creates a feeling of reality now.
That makes perfect sense. Feels more immediate, less like wishful thinking. What was the second guideline?
The second was the combo of emotion and visualization. It wasn't enough to just robotically say the words.
You had to feel it.
Exactly. You needed a strong emotional connection to the affirmation, plus vivid mental imagery. So like saying I am successful, while really picturing your ideal office, the smell, the sounds, the feeling of accomplishment, engaging multiple senses.
So really making it tangible in your mind, engaging all your senses. Got it. And the third rule?
The final rule was consistency. Practicing these affirmations for 5 minutes right when you wake up and again right before sleep.
Okay, why those specific times?
The idea is to tap into the subconscious during those transitional states when it's thought to be more open and receptive to suggestion. Repetition during these times is key, like planting seeds in fertile ground, you know.
Precision, emotion plus visualization, and consistency. Sounds very structured, very intentional. Okay, so when this person actually started putting these rules into practice, it wasn't all smooth sailing at first, was it?
No, not at all. The early stages were marked by significant internal resistance, like the mind actively pushed back, dismissing the affirmations as lies, basically, as absurd.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
It's a really common hurdle when you're trying to shift those deep-seated negative patterns. That inner critic can be loud.
It's like your brain saying, hold on, that's not the story we've been telling ourselves for years.
Exactly. Cognitive dissonance, right there. But the piece highlights a turning point around day 7.
Oh.
Just walking along, this person had a spontaneous, positive thought. Look how the sun caresses your steps.
Huh. That's quite poetic.
It is. And this seemingly small observation marked a subtle but significant shift. A first sign that maybe those new seeds were starting to take root. Change often begins quietly, right? In those unexpected moments.
That's a beautiful image, that little moment of noticing something positive, hinting at a perspective shift. And it really sets the stage for week 3, where more tangible changes apparently started showing up. Let's get into some of those reported shifts.
Okay, so in finance, after consistently affirming, I embrace abundance with gratitude, there was this unexpected event. A client willingly paid double for a project.
Well, double.
Yeah. Now, obviously, correlation isn't causation, we have to say that.
Of course.
But for this person, it felt like a direct result of their shifted mindset, like a new openness to receiving.
It speaks to that idea of maybe subconsciously creating an environment where opportunities can pop up, or just being more aware of them when they do. What about relationships? There was a shift from feeling nobody understands me to affirming I attract sincere relationships. What happened there?
Following that change in their inner narrative, the individual experienced a reconciliation with a friend. Now, relationship dynamics are complex, obviously, but it suggests a potential shift in their own behavior, maybe, or the energy they were putting out. It highlights how changing our beliefs about connection might impact things.
And finally, health. The affirmation, my body is a temple in healing, reportedly led to no longer needing sleep medication. That's a pretty significant change.
It is, yeah, and it really underscores that powerful mind-body connection, how positive self-talk might influence our physical well-being. Of course, and this is vital, Affirmations should never replace professional medical advice.
Absolutely crucial point.
But this personal account, in the context of the experiment, is still pretty remarkable. Makes you wonder about that untapped potential.
It really does. It's about their subjective experience of their own health and maybe their mindset playing a supportive role. So we get to day 30, the end of the experiment. What was the key realization then?
By day 30, apparently genuinely believing the affirmations had become almost effortless. That initial resistance had mostly faded.
Wow.
The individual's self-perception had significantly transformed. From seeing themselves as like, I am a mess, to a more growth-oriented view. I am a version improving.
I like that, a version improving, not perfection, but progress.
Exactly. It's a really important nuance.
And this personal transformation is then linked back to neuroscience, specifically strengthening the prefrontal cortex. Why is that part of the brain relevant here?
The prefrontal cortex is basically the brain's CEO, right? Responsible for planning, decision-making, self-awareness, self-confidence, all that higher-level stuff.
Okay.
So the idea is strengthening neural pathways there through consistent positive self-talk could contribute to a more positive self-image, better emotional regulation, a stronger sense of agency, building a more resilient, optimistic mental framework.
So it's not just about feeling a temporary mood boost, but potentially creating lasting changes in the brain's structure and function, fostering a more positive baseline.
That seems to be the implication, yeah. Which leads to that really compelling question raised. What if tomorrow, upon waking, your very first thought was, today, life favors me?
Just imagine the shift that could create for your whole day.
It's a profound reframe, isn't it? Instead of bracing for challenges, you're setting an intention for positive flow. That first thought acts like a lens for everything that follows.
And the piece really encourages us not to wait for a crisis to make this kind of shift.
Yeah.
Powerfully states, change begins in your mouth. That's very direct.
It really underscores that we're not just passive recipients of our thoughts. We can actively choose and cultivate a more supportive inner dialogue.
It all culminates in this really insightful analogy.
Yeah.
Affirmations are like keys. They unlock existing opportunities that our minds, maybe clouded by negativity, just couldn't see before.
That's a crucial point. It's not about conjuring things from nothing, maybe, but about shifting our perception, removing those negative filters that might be blinding us to what's already there.
And then there's that beautiful Rumi quote, "You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop." Just emphasizing that immense potential within each of us.
It's a powerful reminder, isn't it, of the inherent vastness within everyone, and how practices like affirmations could potentially help us tap into that.
Finally, it ends with this incredibly potent metaphor. Your word is the chisel, reality the marble. What work of art will you sculpt in the next 30 days?
Wow. That really puts the power and the responsibility right back in the individual's hands, doesn't it? Empowering them to take conscious control.
It really does. So after this deep dive into the 30-day experiment and the potential impact of affirmations, what's the takeaway for listeners? What might be the next step?
Well, it certainly suggests that even small, consistent shifts in our internal language could potentially lead to noticeable changes in how we see ourselves, how we see the world. It encourages a proactive approach, and intentionally cultivating a more positive mindset.
Absolutely. And on that note, we have a direct invitation for you listening today. If this resonated, why not try your own little exploration?
Yeah, like a mini experiment.
Choose your most powerful affirmation, something that really speaks to what you want to cultivate. And maybe just try it for a week. See what shifts, however subtle.
There's a nice sense of shared intention mentioned too, a collective curiosity. As the source put it, the community is reading, and the universe too.
I love that.
And who knows what opportunities might unfold when you consciously start shaping your reality with intention. It's an empowering thought.
Indeed. Bienvenidos a tu mejor póliza. If you found this deep dive insightful, maybe thought-provoking, please give us a like, subscribe so you don't miss our future explorations, and definitely leave a comment. Share your chosen affirmation or just your thoughts. And share this with anyone you think might benefit.